Integrating into society and leaving the outgrown shell of isolation is very much like being popular in school. This can start with a church congregation or some type of group, and then slowly go from local to regional to national, and in some cases become international. Like sometimes people they get caught up with problems. Um, they get caught up with drama, and like as you grow, as I have grown, you know, I've realized that regardless of what you're going through, you might be going through a difficult phase in life. Um, Regardless of all that, if you remain in one city, you know, you eventually get to know everybody. You know, sometimes people they see a city like it's massive. It's a massive city. There's like 3.4 million people or something like that, right? They get overwhelmed. You know, the world closes in on them. But like, if you remain in a city, you know, and if you start with the neighborhood that you live in, get to know the people that are around you, because in some cases, you know, people live in, how would you say it, closed subdivisions and apartment complexes, um, and they don't even talk to their neighbors. They don't even know who their neighbors are, you know, and so there's a lack of, how would you say it, of recognition, of being recognized, you know, and that is, how would you say it, that affects, you know. But as long as you do what you're supposed to, as long as, how would you say it, as long as you integrate into society in one way and another, people start to recognize you. People start to take you into consideration. They know who you are, you know, and as you continue to, how would you say it, to demonstrate um, to everybody, you know, to the people that are around you, that you're a good person, you know, you start to stand out little by little, you know, and as you start to do that, you know, you become popular, you know, and you can't let that stop. Like you can't be like, I know sometimes it's unavoidable to move because of a certain reason, you know, you're obligated to move. But what I'm saying is that as long as you demonstrate to people that you're a good person, people they start to recognize, you know, they start to recognize you, that you're a good person. They start to recognize who you are, you know, and that's a very big part of life. A very big part of life, you know. I know people all over the country, all over Mexico, you know, and if I were to go to any of one of them places, they know who I am. They know how I am. And so um, a country isn't a city, you know. In a city, you know, it's a lot smaller, immensely a lot smaller. And so I'm not saying, go out and talk to people and go out and try your best to become famous and try your best to become popular. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that you just have to focus on being a good person, on being an example to everybody else, on how a person should be, how a Christian should act. You know, as long as you do that, people will recognize you. You know, people will recognize you, and that's what integrating into society is all about.